if you brought me into the world, right, I don't now owe you my life. Oh, you have no manners, you disrespected me. No, you just didn't like what I said. Let's differentiate. You know what I mean? You just didn't like what I said. You know, oh my gosh, you're insulting me. No, you just didn't like what I said. Welcome back to my channel, guys. It's your girl Esiri once again on your screen. It's been a long time. I'm sorry about that. Your girl's just been like, I'm always doing a lot. You know, I'm just always doing a lot. Let me know what you think about this lighting, because I really like it. I feel like it's giving homey vibes, and I like how you can still see the fairy lights in the back. I'm just using one studio light now instead of two. I feel like I'm moving away from the whole like extra brightness to the point where you look like you're in some sort of studio. I just feel like that's not the vibe. Today's video is a little bit of a serious video. I thought to myself, I either wanted to do toxic friends or toxic parents, but then I was just kind of like, let me just do this one. This one is a video I've been putting off for probably the last few years, and I watched a video the other day that reminded me that I still haven't made this video. If you are interested in this video, then keep watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you like me, and let's get into the video. This is generally just a video coming from like love, care, and just wanting to like educate people and encourage people, especially people who come from like a similar background to me. This is something that is a big issue in the African Caribbean like community, because it's one thing to have toxic parents, but when you're like African or Caribbean, that's like a whole different ball game, because we have the whole element of like respecting your elders, which is something that transcends all cultures anyway, but in our culture it's very, very different. There is like an obsession with like respect, and we'll get into that later on in the video. The first thing I wrote down in my notes is Psalm 127 verse 3. It says, children are a gift from the Lord, they are a reward for him or from him. One of the signs that you have a toxic parent is if they make you, the child, feel like you're a burden, right? And I'm also probably talking maybe financially. They can make you feel like you're a financial burden. Now, this can be a burden in all aspects, but mainly financially is where it's like if you have, like if your parent says things like, oh, if I didn't have you guys, I would have done, and they just make it seem like their life would have just been so much more fruitful without kids, and it would have been so much more exciting if they didn't have kids. You might have a toxic parent. I didn't bring myself into this world. You didn't bring yourself into this world. Your parents laid down, they did what they did, they conceived a child, and they brought life into the world. That had nothing to do with you. Okay, you didn't ask your parents, you didn't ask God to bring you into the world. You got brought into this world. So it's a parent's responsibility to look after that child. How you know you have a toxic parent is if your parents have no boundaries. Now, I want to preface this. I should have said this at the beginning. Parents are not perfect, because human beings are not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We're not perfect, right? Parents are going to mess up, but I think the important thing is not to use that as a cop-out, because there's parents that like to use that as a cop-out to say, I'm not perfect, I tried my best. It's a cop-out, because really nobody takes accountability for anything they did. It's just, oh, you know, I'm not perfect, I didn't do this, get on with it. No, there's an importance in understanding and recognizing that you're not perfect, you mess up, but acknowledging that, you know, and trying to do better, acknowledging that to your kids, like, listen, I messed up, and trying to do better. This can be boundaries in like so many aspects, but I want to focus a bit more on money, because I feel like this is it's something. Okay, if you live in a house where your parents feel like it's okay to like take your money, for example, put their hand in your purse, your wallet, take out a little bit of money when they need it. They don't say anything. They don't even address it. They just help themselves to your money. That's that's like a big issue. That's a big boundary issue. And I know there's some kids who feel like that's okay, it's normal, that's mummy, that's daddy, they're allowed. That's not normal. It's not. I know you think it is, maybe culture, maybe that's what you've been told, but I'm letting you know today that's not normal. And when you confront the parent about these lack of boundaries, you get a really bad reaction back. You know, there's no accountability, there's no, oh, I'm sorry about that, or, you know, there's no acknowledgement. It's just entitlement. You might have a toxic parent. They make you feel like you owe them your life because they brought you into the world. How I see it is this: if you brought me into the world, right, I don't now owe you my life. I gave my life to Christ. I didn't give my life to my parents. And a lot of parents use this as like a manipulative tactic, as if to say, I brought you into this world, therefore you have to do for me because I brought you here. And really what you're looking at, what they're saying is like they're wanting to put so much of a burden and so much responsibility on their children because they feel like that child owes them their life. You should look after your parents when you can, support them, you know, but you don't owe them your life. And if your parents are making you feel like you owe them their life, you might have a toxic parent. And this manifests through different ways, right? This manifests through your parents feeling like you have to take out a loan for them, right? Or you have to lie for them. And if you don't do these things, they make you feel like you betrayed them, or you know, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing as their child because I'm your parent, I'm your mother, I'm your father, I brought you into this world, therefore you owe me. You don't owe them anything. Toxic trait number 4, they call the truth disrespect. Oh, so much to say about this one. Oh. You stopped communicating with your father and your father asks you, Esiri, what's the honest reason you stopped communicating with me? What's the honest truth? Like, please just tell me why you stopped communicating with me. I'd love to know. Like, why don't we have a good relationship? So you proceed to tell them, well, I just personally feel like, you know, when I was younger, you weren't really there for me. You didn't do this for me. I felt abandoned. And then he responds with, you're disrespectful. You see, I've tolerated the disrespect and it's too much. It's too much. You're disrespectful. You have no manners. You're rude. And I'm thinking to myself, you asked me a question and I answered the question truthfully and now I'm disrespectful? And then you go away leaving the situation feeling like, wait, have I disrespected my parents now? Like, they've made me feel so bad, like I did something so bad, when in reality, you just told the truth. They'll be making you feel bad about something you have no business feeling bad about. They ask you a question, you answer truthfully, they don't like the answer, they don't like what you said, so now you're disrespectful. You're not disrespectful, they just don't like the truth. Point blank, period. You don't like what I said, so you covered it up in disrespect. Oh, you have no manners, you disrespected me. No. You just didn't like what I said. Let's differentiate. You know what I mean? You just didn't like what I said. You know, oh my gosh, you're insulting me. No, you just didn't like what I said. Oh, you're disrespecting me. What an insult. Like, no, an insult is name calling. I just told you the truth. You didn't like it. Lack of respect for kids. First of all, your parents just don't respect you, period. And I don't really need to go into this one because it kind of overlaps with the whole boundary thing. Typically in African culture, from what I've seen, is a lot of parents don't really respect their kids anyway because they kind of feel like respect is something that's only due for an older person. You know, we have a very toxic aspect of our culture. If your parents do everything pretty much that I've mentioned beforehand, they don't really respect you. When your parent has an obsession with respect and creating a false reality to people that everything is good at home. But generally speaking, especially like in Nigeria, there tends to be a very big obsession with respect. It's not healthy though, because I have to make it clear as well. This video isn't a disrespect your parents. like no, the Bible says we should respect our father and our mother so that our days will be long. Like, that's a thing. I'm not speaking against that. Wanting everyone around you, all your friends, you know, people at church, you want them to see that everything's good at my house. Like, at home, everything's peaches and cream. But you're oppressing your children. You know, you're toxic. Like, your children go to bed crying sometimes because you're just unhealthy to be around. You're just toxic, you know, but you don't address what's going on in the household. So far, everything looks good on the outside, and everyone thinks that everything looks good. Everyone thinks that everything's good at home. This is such a good, perfect family. Everything looks a-okay. Everything seems a-okay. That's all you really care about. That's why you hear some parents, instead of addressing the issue, they'll say, shh, lower your voice. Don't disgrace me. Don't let people hear. Don't disgrace me. Because they're far more concerned about embarrassment, being disgraced, than actually dealing with what's going on in the home. Does that make any sense? I hope that makes sense. A lot of these signs overlap each other anyway, because it's like, if your parents respected you, they wouldn't do da 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 da. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of these things overlap. Like, the whole respect thing, boundaries, it's all like intertwined. So it's like, you know. Another sign that you have a toxic parent is if you have a jealous mother. If there are any psychology students or like psychologists watching this, if anyone knows anything about this, then I guess like let me know, comment it, because there has to be something behind this jealous mother thing. Like, there has to be a theory behind it. From videos I've watched similar to this, there is definitely something to be said about mothers who are jealous of their daughters. Now, I know it sounds crazy because it's like, why would a mother be jealous of their daughter? But it's actually a thing, right? And you can normally see it when you have, now this isn't, I don't want to say this is a one size fits all, because there might be some situations where your mother might do this particular thing, but it's like they might not be jealous of you. But from what I've seen, it's definitely a thing. When you have disagreements, when you have little arguments, right? If your mother always resorts to insulting your body, right? Insulting your appearance, your physical appearance, you might have a jealous mother. Yeah, we're going to leave that there. This next point is going back to the whole making you feel like they owe you their life, they owe you everything. If you have parents who feel that they're entitled to your money, it's toxic. Like, it's toxic. We're not doing that. It's toxic. The next one, if you have unapologetic parents, again, with like the whole African upbringing thing, a lot of parents feel like, from what I've heard, because I've heard actual like people say this. Someone said to me once, Esiri, but you can't expect me to apologize to my kids. Like, why would I apologize to my kids? My mother didn't apologize to me growing up. And that's the issue. Their parents were toxic, right? So hurt people. If their parents treated them a certain way, that's probably all they know. And unfortunately, some people don't know how to take a bad experience and think, I'm going to do better. Some people will take a bad experience and think, this is how it's supposed to be. Oh, okay, I'm going to do this to my children. unfortunately some people think that way, right? I think the other way, where it's like, oh, I've experienced this from growing up. If I have children, I'm going to make sure they don't experience that. I'm going to do better, right? So if you've grown up kind of, with your parents never apologizing, even though they will do the worst things, but because you're the child, they feel like they don't have to apologize. It's not in their place to apologize. That's a pride issue. One, that's a pride issue. Number two, that is toxic. So toxic. Oh my goodness. Another way that you have a toxic parent is if they compare you to other kids. This is something that is so relatable for so many people, but I think sometimes parents can unintentionally compare, and it's like they're not trying to be toxic. It's just like a thing where it's like maybe they want to use it as encouragement. I don't know. I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But ultimately, comparison does not do anybody any favors. Growing up, you hear the whole, look at these kids, this family's kids, they're doing better at school than you. You're getting average marks, they're getting the top marks. The constant comparison makes you grow up feeling inadequate, right? You shouldn't be comparing your children to other people's children. Just point blank period, don't compare, because everybody is different. If you want your child to do better at school, encourage them, support them to do better at school. Don't compare them to another child. That is toxic, because over time it makes the child feel inadequate. It makes the child feel like they're not enough because they've grown up being compared to other children. I wrote down manipulative. If you have a manipulative parent, then you have a toxic parent, potentially. But I wrote a Bible verse next to it, and I don't know why, so we're just going to see what it says. This is the fathers. Do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Okay, this is great. I just remembered now. I feel like I can say this. I feel like every time I share a personal experience, it's to help people. It's not for like drama or whatever. But when I first gave my life to Christ, this happened years ago, but when I actually started taking God seriously and I was really trying to live that life, this happened a couple years ago while I was at university. Now, all my like family, friends, whatever, like back home in Scotland, they all obviously were kind of used to me being a certain way. I started to post a bit more faith-based things right on my social media. I had certain family members, who would say to me, they would do the worst thing to me. They would do such horrible things to me. And they would say, oh, but you're a Christian. You should forgive me. You call yourself a Christian and you're still angry at what I did? How dare you even talk back to me? You're supposed to be a Christian. Doesn't the Bible say respect your father and your mother? No, but people skip the Bible verse that says that parents should not provoke their children by the way you treat them. People want to skip over that, but they want to talk about the one that says respect your father and your mother and all this other stuff. People just want to use what benefits them. That's manipulative. People want to pick Bible verses, right, that kind of give them an edge. They'll be doing the wickedest things, the wickedest, heinous things, but they'll use Bible verses to be like, well, respect me. But let's deal with what you did though. And if you have a parent that does that, right, you might have a toxic parent. That is the worst kind of person. Not even like parent, whatever, but like somebody who is manipulative and who uses like the Bible to kind of like cover up wicked things. May God help us all. But yeah, guys, this video was a very, very long video. Hopefully it wasn't too boring and it actually resonated with someone and it actually helped. One Bible verse that really, really, really encouraged me when I was going through some crazy things in my life a few years ago is Psalm 27 verse 10. Even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. I freaking love that Bible verse because it lets us know that it's okay if you grew up in a not so great family. You might have had not so great parents. You might have been failed here even by friends, even by pastors, even by people who said that they were supposed to be for you, people who were supposed to ride for you. Do you know what I mean? I see this Bible verse as people can all abandon me, they can all go, they can leave me, they can do whatever to me, but the Lord will hold me close. You are never alone, because no matter what anybody does to you, man is going to fail you, point blank, period. But when you do that, the Lord will hold you close. When man fails you, God will never fail you. He will always be there for you. I'm making this video because this is a video that needs to be made, period. Okay? Anyone going through anything right now, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Hopefully you know God, so you can pray. This season shall pass. It's not going to be forever. But thank you so much for watching, guys. This video was so long. Subscribe to my channel if you like me. If you have any comments, suggestions, any experiences with toxic parents, leave it in the comments below, and I'll see you on our next upload. Bye. My voice was literally going, like I could hear my voice going, like